picture. And then we'll also deep dive into some news of not this season, but the next season being the final season of this cycle. But hey yo, I'm glad to be back. Stay locked, stay tuned. It's your boy Brady. We'll be right back after this. Yeah. All right, man. What's good, everybody, man? It's your boy Brady Senior, man, giving you the OMFL news after dark. Like I said, man, your boy been on a little hiatus, man. It's AAU season. Finally got stuff kicking off for the upcoming basketball season. Your boy is going to be coaching 3 squads. Got me a 6th grade group, 7th grade, and a freshman squad. Pretty hyped about my 6th and my freshman squads. I'm hoping I have a feeling that those groups are actually, be real competitive and actually, make some noise this AAU season. 7th grade group, that's going to be a work in progress because we got some definitely some new pieces. But enough about AAU because I could talk to y'all about that all motherfucking day. But let's go ahead and talk about previous week's player of the week. Offensive side went to DeAndre Hopkins with 11 catches, 148 yards, 3 TDs. And then the defensive player of the week for last week was Sean Murphy Bunting. 12 tackles, no sacks, no interceptions, and no forced fumbles, but 12 tackles. Good Lord. The man was chasing the ball down. But yeah, man, we'll be right back up to this, man. We'll talk about those power rankings, and then we'll move on into that too soon postseason race. Hey, what's good, everybody, man? It's your boy Brady Senior. Doing what we do, man. The OMFL news after dark, man. And we're gonna go ahead and jump right into this power rankings real quick. I don't know what beat I selected, but we gonna roll with it though. Sound like some Walking Dead-ish right here. But anyway, man, power rankings as it stands currently. I want to say we're in week 8. No, we're in week 7. Yeah, we're in week 7. Week 7. Getting ready to go into week 8 because then that's my bye week. Yeah, so currently week 7. Cardinals are 7-0. Chiefs are 5-1. Seahawks are 6-1. Giants are 7-1. Lions are 6-1. The Chargers are 5-1. The Browns, and what in the hell am I doing? Why am I giving you guys the records? Anyway, the Browns are 5-1. Panthers are 6-2, and then the Patriots are 4-4, and then the Saints are 4-3. And in the order of records, you have Cardinals at 1, Chiefs at 2, Seahawks at 3, Giants at 4, Lions at 5, Chargers at 6, the Browns at 7, the Panthers at 8, Patriots at 9, and the Saints at 10. That is the power rankings, and I, for the love of God, don't know why I gave you guys everybody's record. I ain't been doing this for a while. Knocking the rust off. Peace. Yo, what's good, everybody, man? It's your boy Brady Senior, man, giving you the OMFL news at the dark. As always, man, definitely make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and definitely share this ish. Because, grown folk community, man, we got more than just the OMFL, man. You have the ATG, the NBC, you have the Deuce, and you also have the TFL. We also give you shooting, leagues and stuff like that, like games for clans and stuff like that. And there's also a tight little section that Nate actually gives for spiritual awareness and possible growth. That way, if you need to go in and kind of chat, about how you feel and whatnot, I think that's a pretty cool space to kind of, reach out to someone and, just kind of talk about what you're going through outside of the gaming world. But with that being said, man, let's go ahead and dive over here to this too soon postseason race. So on the AFC side, man, you got the Kansas City Chiefs at the 1, Browns at the 2, Patriots at the 3, Colts at the 4. You have the Chargers at the 5, Texans at the 6, Bengals at the 7, and then on the bubble you have my Jags at 8, Broncos at 9, and the Titans at 10. Over in the NFC side, it's a little bit more daunting, man, when you look at the records between AFC and NFC. But anyway, man, Cardinals at the 1, Giants at the 2, Lions at the 3, Panthers at the 4, Seahawks at the 5, Saints at 6, Vikings at 7.
This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with Kinda Real Name. Here's another OMFL production.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show here in the OMFL. I'm so glad that you're joining me tonight. Tonight's going to be a quick show, mainly because I got a game right after this. I'm going to be playing the Falcons, so this stream will go down here hopefully in the next 30 minutes if I can get through it. And then we're going to come right back up with my game against the Atlanta Falcons here in week number 12. So I appreciate you hanging out with us. I think there's a lot for us to talk about, and let's go just jump right into it. All right, number one is going to be able to talk about some of my favorite games, and there were some really good games that we could have looked at this week. Number one, we got to talk about this game here at the bottom, the Cowboys versus the Washington football team in a 30-30 tie, but the issue with this game is we always talk about these teams. I wanted to try to find a game about a couple of teams that we don't talk about that often. One of them would have been the Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders. The reason I didn't pick this game is because it was played two different times, which means it was maybe a little laggy, maybe some DC issues. And well, those games just aren't that fun to talk about because things go haywire, and they can go haywire pretty quickly. So I want to go ahead and talk about the Falcons and the Panthers, 39-37. You can see that the Packers do. I keep saying the Panthers because I'm looking at Maniac here in the chat, but the Packers come roaring back in the second half. They put up 20 points in the fourth quarter. The Falcons ended up having to get them away with a stick by scoring up 13 of their own. You can see a lot of passing yards in this one, 375 passing yards to 260, tons of first downs. There was 32 first downs in this whole game, only 2 turnovers, which is not something you thought you would see. And then the Falcons held onto the ball for 24 minutes. We got to talk about Will Kerr and whatever Priest has figured out with this kid. This was not a great draft to be grabbing guys when he grabbed Will Kerr, but this kid is playing spectacular. I know he played spectacular versus me. 136.5 QBR, 389 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He did have 3 sacks. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, 269, which is nothing to be ashamed of. 1 touchdown, did not turn the ball over, which ended up being really good for him. Nothing really to speak about in the rushing game. Both teams did a good job of holding the rushing teams down. But look at these passing yards. 152 for Devontae Adams with 1 touchdown. Julio Jones, 152 as well with 8. No touchdowns for him. Benjamin Young, 3 touchdowns, 128 on 4 catches for the young tight end. And then Junior Davis, the other tight end, 4 for 65. So the tight ends and stud receivers really having their way in this game. And if you look at the defense, this really was about Peter Barden over on the Atlanta Falcons side. And that's just what they need, is another great defensive lineman over there. And then the 1 interception coming from Kendall Stanford. So Sheffield. Sorry, I don't know where I got Stanford from. Sheffield. Another really good game that the Packers find themselves in, but they keep having to either come back at the end or they jump out to big leads to start the game. They're going to have to figure a way to play a little bit more consistent so that they can get over that hump and begin to play really good football, as I scratch my eyeball out because it itches all of a sudden. There's a couple teams that I want to talk about. We're going to look at the AFC versus NFC, which I think will be a bulk of our conversation today. But we got to look at the Seattle Seahawks. I blanked on their name there for a half a second. This team has really turned things around. Before we look at some stats, let's go and look just at their record. I think they're sitting at 9-2. They were 9-1 earlier today, so they just dropped 1 tonight. 325 points for them, only 173 points against them. Now, we could talk about the Cardinals and their dominant season that they're having, but we always talk about the Cardinals. We could have talked about the Chargers, but they've lost a couple of close games here, and I thought the Seahawks were one of the more impressive teams this season. Pepper has done a really, really good job of turning that team around and being able to compete. I keep going to the wrong one. They're sitting at 9-2, second place. They're right at the top for a wild card. They're going to be probably a 12-win season wild card team. They just happen to be stuck in a division with a superstar player in D-Money. I want to look at let's look at their schedule, and then we can look at their team. That's not what I want to do. Keep pressing too many buttons too quickly here. Go ahead and look at their schedule really fast. They've had some impressive victories. The Rams, they lost to the Cardinals, but you know what? It's not too bad. I know it's a 28-point loss, but still, those games can get away from you pretty quickly, and he was able to keep that one at least in striking distance for most of that game. Then he got a good win against the Bengals, another win against the Rams. He hammered my Saints. The score wasn't nearly as close as that shows. An impressive win against Nipples and his Ravens. Now, I know the Ravens haven't been what we've seen of them in the past, but that's still an impressive victory. This is a fairly light schedule to start his season, but then he comes back with a couple really, really good games here. The Washington football team, anytime you get a victory against him, that's going to be an impressive game, 31-17. He beats the Steelers. Cly has figured his team out. That's an impressive victory, 28-17. An impressive victory over Lost, who's had some big victories this season, 38-14, and then he drops this one by just 3 points, 14-17. And this in the second half is where his schedule gets a little bit tougher. I mean, you got D-Money, arguably top 2 player in this league. The Giants, the other arguable. I can't say that word. Why can't I say that word? I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say, though. Arguably the other number 1 or number 2 guy in this league. Then he's got 0-0, and then he's got to go face Dwayne and his Dallas Cowboys, who seem to be figuring a couple of things out. And they got Denbrew and the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, that's a tough end of the season schedule. And it'll just be interesting to see what he can do, because this is going to tell if he's going to make the playoffs or not. I have him as a shoe-in for the playoffs. He's just won all of the games that he was supposed to win here at the beginning of the season. And the second half of the season is going to be tough, but it will help him prepare for the playoff run that he's going to be going on. How did he do this? That was my biggest question of how did he rebuild this team? He kept a lot of the core together, but he has figured out how to rebuild this team. I think it starts with the defense. Number one, let's look at the offense. You got Russell Wilson. I know he hasn't been super in love with Russell Wilson. He still has Tommy Green over there, who's a serviceable backup. But 95 overall, Russell Wilson. He's been trying to trade him for quite some time. This guy's a stud. He can make all the throws. He can make all the plays. He's still super fast. He can get out of the pocket. He's a dangerous quarterback there for Seattle. He's got Chris Carson and Rashad Penny. All of these guys can run the rock, but these are his two main dudes. Even Leak, I think, is a rookie who's gotten some serious playing time. I think he ended up really hammering me pretty good, but he can run the ball pretty well, and his offensive line plays really, really good. C.J. Ham at fullback. And then DJ Metcalf, Lockett, David Moore. I mean, what more do you need other than those three guys right there? Metcalf is a superstar. He can go off at any second and put up tons of points against you. And then he's built up Will Disley really well. 77 speed guy, but 86 overall. He blocks really well at the point of attack, helps that running game, but can still make some plays in the passing game. He's got Benito 91 overall, Lewis 82 overall, Bush 78 overall, but just a second-year kid that he drafted. 32-year-old 76 overall, Moses, and then 74 overall, Pert. Now, the right side of this offensive line isn't something to get super excited about, but they play really well on that left side. I know that's where he gashed me, was right up the middle. His center plays much higher than just the overall ranking of 78 and really opens up a lot of holes right there in the middle. But this is where this team shines, man. He's got tons of playmakers over here, starting with Geron Reed, 82 overall. Not a super fast guy, but I think he plays a 3-4, plenty strong enough to stop the run game on the left end. At right end, he's got McKinley. This guy is a stud. He can make all the plays. He can get after you. When he lights up, you got to start running away from him. He will dominate the left side of your offensive line if you're not able to double team, slide protect, do that type of stuff. He's got a lot of right ends on this team, and actually all of them can play. I mean, you got 88, 84, 83, 86. I mean, that is a lot of really good players that you can rotate in or out. 90 overall, Dexter Lawrence, the second, a stud player, not a superstar, but makes a lot of plays right there in the middle. It's very hard to run on. And then you get to these linebackers. They're all fast. They can all play. I know Griffin is a 77 overall, but 91 speed, 73 strength. He can tackle at 83. He's got 80 hit power. This guy can get after you and make a lot of plays, especially in the passing game. He's got Jordan Brooks, 78 overall, but lots of speed. And I think he uses this guy and kind of moves around, and he makes it very difficult to pass on. And then Mandy Reed, a guy that is a rookie this year, nothing to get too excited about. But these linebackers shine because that defensive line plays so well. Then you get to the back end of this team, and that's where this team really raises some eyebrows. You got Bowman over there, 97 overall. Griffin, 92 overall. And then Flowers at 80 overall. All of these guys can run. I mean, Bowman is a top 3 cornerback in this league. Then you look at his safeties. You got Blair at 81 overall, 92 speed. And then we all know Jamal Adams, 99 overall, 92 speed. This guy caused a massive hit stick fumble on like a catch from my tight end. If CPU lays down the hammer, he picks up the fumble, ends up going down and scoring, ended up being the difference in that game. So he's really impressed with what he's done with the defensive line. Still some work to do with the linebackers, but that back end of this team, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better back end, a really good defensive line, a serviceable linebacker core, a pretty steady offensive line with a superstar quarterback, superstar receivers. You start to see why he's won so many games. The worry, the concern, if you have any concern about this team, is in this last stretch of games. You start playing Rob, D-Money, Mo, D-Wayne. They're going to push those linebackers. They're going to make you pay with those linebackers. And will he have the linebacker depth to hold up? And you're going to get a lot of pressure from their defensive lines because all of those guys have done a really, really good job building those defensive lines that he's going to be up against. So Seattle Seahawks, man, Pepper, way to go. Snaps over to you, bro. You've really rebuilt that team, and it's something that you should be proud of, and it's something to be very, very impressed about. All right, let's look at a little AFC versus NFC. And the question that we want to answer, which I think is not really a question to answer, I think the proof is in the pudding, is the AFC the little brother of the NFC? The NFC has dominated in OMFL Bowls for quite some time. That's a little bit of a skewed stat, mainly because of D-Money and what the run that he went on last Madden. And then we've already seen, look, Penguins stepped up big this year to win those first, I think, 2 back-to-back. I could be wrong on that, but now Mo stepped back up and kind of taken that power up. But even when Penguins was winning, it was a very, very top-heavy AFC. And when you have teams like the Dolphins, like the Patriots, the Steelers, the Browns even a little bit this season, take some steps back, it makes this, the Ravens, right, way step back, it makes this a very NFC-heavy league. You got the Cardinals at 11-0, you got the Seahawks at 9-2, you got the Giants at 9-1, the Lions at 9-2, and then you get to the AFC 8-3 with the Chargers, the 8-2 Chiefs, Panthers at 8-2, which are legit, real deal, hammered me, maniac, kicked me in my teeth, made me want to retire. The Browns at 8-3, Titans at 7-4, but they've taken a couple steps back. My Saints at 6-4, not really a contender. Cowboys have struggled this year, which has kind of opened the door for some of these other teams, but he's still going to be at the top portion. He's still above the Bengals, the Patriots, the Dolphins, who've had a terrible season, the Colts, who've struggled this year, the Texans, who started out red hot, but they've kind of come back to the crowd here. And the question is, why? The shift of power of having Dwayne, whenever he moved over to the AFC, made that AFC really step up their game. He's come back to the NFC. You still have D-Money over here. Mo has figured out his team over here in the NFC. And so now you're starting to see like a lot of those top tier players have moved over. Now, the AFC still has Penguins. Now, you still have some really good teams over there. When Colin is plugged in, when Colin has his team going. Now, he's on a 2-game losing streak. He did have this team at 8-1. He's sitting at 8-3. That offense, we know what he can do on offense. We know what he can do with this running game. We know what he can do in that passing game. He's breaking all kinds of crazy records. Penguins is usually shattering records all over the place. Now, he's lost a few players here, but still, that offense is arguably the best that you will ever see. The Browns have kind of had a little bit up and down. I mean, that's kind of tough to say sitting here at 8-3, but he's not doing it with as much pizzazz as you see him do it last season. But it's nothing. Look, 175 points for his defense is going to be number 1 or number 2 in this whole entire division. Yeah, it's going to be number 1. And then if you look at the offense, he's still going to be in the top 10 here, right? And so he's still putting up a lot of really, really good plays. The thing with Massimo is the consistency. Titans have kind of come back and forth. Now, they made a lot of trades. This team is on a 5-game winning streak. We're talking about a team that was sitting at 2-4 just a couple of weeks ago. 5-game winning streak, turned things around. But we haven't seen him win in the playoffs the way that you would thought. We haven't seen him in an AFC championship game. Texans have come back to the crowd. They were on a big game losing streak there. Patriots on a 2-game losing streak. The Colts haven't quite figured things out. Broncos are starting to sneak in there just a little bit, but he's coming off of a loss. The Jaguars have taken a big step back at 4-6. Steelers 4-7, big step back. Ravens 3-8. The Dolphins, the biggest head scratcher, we'll probably talk about them next week, are sitting at 1-9, 170 points for this team, 333 points against them, a 9-game losing streak. That's not the normal football that we're used to seeing from that team. And so if you look back at the NFC, before we kind of wrap this up and look at some questions, which we didn't have any questions a while ago. So if you got some questions here in chat, let me know. It looks like a small crew tonight. I don't know if it's just the NCAA tournament or if guys just have other things to do. Or yeah, I'm not too early. I'm about normal time. Cardinals 11-0, Giants 10-1, Lions 9-2, Seahawks 9-2, Panthers 8-2. These are some of your top powerhouse teams, and you can never count out Dwayne, I should say. He's at 5-4-1. Can never count out Rob, even though Rob would tell me different. Can never count out Denver. Packers, it's a crapshoot. Never know what you're going to get there. These are some really, really good teams. Falcons have taken a step back this season. Buccaneers have taken a step back this season. But those are still contending teams that I think you will see in the second half of the season really make a nice little run, and they're going to play spoiler to a handful of teams. So, AFC, there it is. I think that you are the stepbrother to the rest of this league, but I'd look for you to prove me wrong. And I think Penguins is your best shot this season to prove me wrong. I think you could talk about Dawson, but he always runs into that buzzsaw. He doesn't seem to have the answer for Penguins. I don't know who else in the AFC I'm supposed to believe in. If you're going to try to sell me on the Browns, I'll listen. I'm just not quite seeing it. I think that you're still missing a couple of pieces there. All right, let's get over here and look at some owner-submitted questions. I don't know why it has that little hiccup right there, but we're going to get that thing figured out. Let me just do a quick refresh and just see. I think as of now, we have no questions. So, yeah, it doesn't look like we've got any questions at all. So I guess nobody wanted to talk to me this week, or everybody's just really busy. I know it was really pretty here in New Orleans, so maybe people were just out and about. I know my wife and my youngest son have had their first vaccine shots. I'll be going for mine next week. And so maybe people are getting the shot. Maybe people are enjoying the beautiful weather. I don't know, but whatever it is, this is a little bit of a reason why I said next season is going to be our last season. I just don't think it's going to be worth fighting people around. People are going to want to get out. They're going to want to be about. They're going to want to be doing things in the sun and doing things with their family. And so I get it. And there's no reason to kind of push them. Let's look at some stats real quick before we get out of here, see if there's anything that jumps out to us. And then we'll just wrap it up. It'll be a pretty short show tonight. Look at a couple stats here. I hope that you guys like the new overlay. I was inspired by, not Further Review. What was it? What was the name of that show? The ESPN show. First Take, that's it. Just kind of some of their overlays that they did. I can't quite do the things that they do. And of course, nobody's chatting with me, so my poor chat's just kind of stuck here. But let's look at a couple of stats here. Justin Herbert, this guy is going to be in the MVP running. 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 74% completion percentage, and he's earned this one the right way. I know last year he had a CPU game that inflated his stats just a little bit, but man, he is having a tremendous season. I think you're going to see this guy at the top of our league for many, many years to come, as long as Colin has his hands on them. Riley Worthington really turned things around since moving over to Detroit. I'm kind of glad that I didn't go after him, because I got the guy I got, and he's a rookie contract. I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for him, but 33 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 70% completion percentage. This guy's making all the plays there for Detroit, and you're going to be hard-pressed to see a quarterback that has helped his team more than what Worthington has done for the Lions. Patrick Mahomes, another amazing season. Completion percentage down just a little bit, but the touchdown to interception ratio right there, 35-16. Mayfield having a decent season, but 17-12, you're going to want to see a little bit bigger of a gap there. And then you got to talk about Haskins, 26-10, 64%. He is not the reason this team has struggled. I think you will see his team begin to play better in the second half, as long as Rob wants to. And that's always going to be the big question. Does Rob want to play better? Does he want to be in those runnings? You got to look at Donald McCoy. He is the pivot mark for Maniac and what Maniac does. When this guy plays well, Maniac plays well. And the way Maniac has those X factors laid out on his team, it was so bad, Maniac, I'm going to have to submit a rule. I don't know that they're going to pass it. I doubt that they will, because they're pretty hands-on about that X factor stuff, but it was unstoppable. When McCoy's X factor lit up and your receiver whatever his name is, you know who it is. When those two guys got their X factors going, it was impossible to be able to stop those guys. Of course, you know what Grant has been doing all season. This guy might break an OMFL record. Henry having a really good season, especially here in the second half with 15 touchdowns. I mean, none of these guys are going to even touch what Grant does. This guy's running away with the Rookie of the Year. I don't know. It's such a hard discussion, because I hate to see one player win all the offseason awards, but he looks like he'll be one of those guys. Looking at receiving, Hyde, 1,557 yards, 12 touchdowns. Beckham with a 1,400-yard season, only 7 touchdowns. Vincent with 12 touchdowns. DJ Moore there, I was talking about him, 71 for 13 and 12. McLaurin, who's a stud here. So lots of receivers throwing up some really, really good numbers. And that's just kind of been something that we've seen a lot of. And maybe a little bit of tweaking and catch would maybe help with some of that. I don't know. Maybe we just don't mess with it. Probably won't mess with it. Just you hate to see that many receivers having some amazing seasons with a lot of football left to go here. And looking at the defense really quick before we get out of here, let's look at some tackle numbers. Devin White, Cashman, Derby, stud. Looking at some sacks here. Young having a great season. Sampson having a great season. Hunter having another great season. Not as great as last season, but still right up there. Manny Smallwood having a really good turnaround season this year. And then Marcus Peters. Who would have thought that? Who would have thought Marcus Peters would be leading our league in interceptions this late in his career? Thornhill with 9, Reed with 9, Beck and Delpit both with 8 for the Browns. So a lot of really good seasons, a lot of really good football left to go. And I think we're just sitting here in, was it week 12? Week 12. So a couple more weeks here. By the time I come back with you, we're going to be right at the tail end of the season. We're going to do our playoff matchups next Sunday. Look and see who we think is going to make it, what races are still there to be decided, and what's left to be. So it should be a really good end of the season. If you want to keep hanging out with me, I'd love for you to keep hanging out with me. It's super quiet tonight, which is totally fine, but quick show because there was nobody here to chit chat with me. No OMFL news this week. Our guy Brady is busy with basketball, as he said on the last OMFL news, and not a whole lot to talk about with just 3 or 4 guys here hanging out with me. So let me go ahead and get us off, get it wrapped up, and get ready for my game. So you'll see this come down, and then it'll probably go right back up in just a couple minutes. I hope that you have a blessed week, guys. I really do. I hope that you enjoy your summer. Let's enjoy this last season and a quarter that we got left here. We're going to kick up a PlayStation 5 league. So what I'm going to do is at the end of our last draft, I'm going to hand this league off to whoever wants to kind of run it as a fun thing. So if anybody's on the PlayStation 4 and they just want to keep busy, and I'm going to kick up our roster that you see right here, this roster on a new one on PlayStation 5. And so I've already got it up and running. I'm just kind of playing the CPU, playing around a little bit. I'll probably sim it to the end of that season, let whoever joins do a draft one night, and then start fresh with the new season just for fun, just to have fun and play around and see how it goes. I'm still chewing on my FPR, what was the word I used? My FPR court. I'm still chewing on that idea. I've been really busy. I do think that I'm going to turn the corner here and not be quite as busy, and so I'll have more time to pour into the league. My life has just been really, really tough the last couple of weeks, but we're going to turn the corner and have some fun. So have a great week, guys. I'm praying for you. I love you. Can't wait to see you next time. Come hang out with me. Peace.
What's good, everybody, man? This is your boy Brady Sr. giving you the OMFL News After Dark. We're going to talk about Players of the Week, Power Rankings, the too soon playoff picture, and then we'll also deep dive into some news of not this season, but the next season being the final season of this cycle. But hey yo, I'm glad to be back. Stay locked, stay tuned. It's your boy Brady. We'll be right back after this.